Okay, let's talk about the Tsuranga Conundrum and Doctor Who. It all begins on a big garbage planet, I suppose. The Doctor is looking for something. A sonic mine goes off, and 4 days later, they awake on this hospital ship. Now, let's start off with the fact that for a lot of people, there's still this, is Jodie Whittaker the Doctor or not the Doctor? And I think one of the easiest ways for the showrunners to establish some sort of continuity is sticking with plots that Whovians recognize, even if the situations around it sort of change. So this particular episode is like an Under Siege episode. And it's a style of episode we've seen over and over again, from old Who to new Who. Like every Doctor has an Under Siege episode. My issue is that this one isn't particularly compelling. I'm not sure why it is exactly, but I'm going to tell you some of the issues I found. So, the Doctor wakes up and she immediately realizes she has to get back to her TARDIS, of course. You can't just leave something that powerful and that necessary just hanging out. Unfortunately, the Doctor and her companions are on a hospital ship and people need treatment, and they're headed to um, a base where they can get this. And so Astos, who's I guess the chief medical officer, humors the Doctor at first, but then starts to insist that the Doctor get back in medical bay, the Doctor stop doing what she's doing and to settle down and stop interrupting. Um, of course, the Doctor is persistent, and it isn't until Astos lays down the law about the fact that the Doctor is in fact being selfish and putting other people's lives in jeopardy because she wants to get back to the TARDIS that she pauses and listens, and she actually apologizes and admits that she's being selfish. This is freaking huge, right? At this point, I'm starting to believe this story is going to tell us something new about the Doctor, give us some new insight to who she is. And then Astos is promptly killed off. Boom. Done. And I feel like this is a wasted opportunity. It's kind of like showing people a gun and not shooting. It's seeing the bell and not ringing it. I don't even know why it was included. It could have gone somewhere, but it simply didn't. And the rest of the episode is basically about the Pating, this cute little alien creature that looks, um well, I guess there's been some debate about what it could be, but it looks like Stitch to me, from Lilo and Stitch, except not fluffy. Okay, so my Stitch voice sucks. Suck it up and deal with it. um so the Ting is eating energy, um and and is indestructible, is absolutely indestructible, even drains the energy from the Doctor's sonic screwdriver. And it's toxic, so humans can't touch it. Somehow, the Doctor has to deal with Bating because otherwise the base is going to make the ship explode because the Bating is obviously a threat. This actually, for me, provides the least interesting part of the story. It's typical, it's what you get. The Bating is cute, even though it's supposed to be threatening, and cute, so I laugh at a little bit, but overall it doesn't do much for me. We do, however, have a pregnant male on the ship named Voss, and his species, the men get pregnant with men, and I guess the women get pregnant with women, and they're absolutely confused by how humans do it, which of course we know different, right? And Voss is thinking about putting his son up for adoption because he feels ill-equipped to be able to parent. This, of course, triggers Ryan because Ryan's mother is deceased. We learned that he actually found her dead, in a conversation with Yaz. And we also know that his father didn't show up for his grandmother's funeral, and he's greatly disturbed by this. But he starts putting together some pieces that maybe he didn't before and realizes that he is the same age that his father was when he was born. And Ryan starts to realize that if he were in this situation today, he would not be ready to parent. And it sort of causes him to maybe see his father's failings in a new light. Maybe he just wasn't ready for the responsibility of Ryan. This, however, doesn't stop him from encouraging Ross to consider keeping his own child, and suggesting that, you can't be perfect when you're not going to be a perfect parent. All you can do is love your child and do the best you can. And this is like totally, totally hopeful. Um, so Ross has Ryan and Graham when he goes into labor because he needs to be surrounded by his men. And he decides to name, in honor of Ryan and Graham, he decides to name the child Avocado Pear, supposedly on behalf of a great Earth human. He must have been reading some millennial literature at this point if you think avocado and pear is, great. But anyway, all of this with Ross's pregnancy is all of it is it is a device for us to learn more about Ryan. And it's not that I don't find Ryan to be an interesting character, but it's telling to me that Yaz once again is being pushed to the sidelines, that Yaz once again is not having her moment. That Yaz and Ryan can't have a moment in the same episode. Like next week, the Doctor is moving to Partition in India. So it's obvious that's going to be a Yaz episode where we're finally going to get to find out a little bit about her. But I don't know that it will be enough to recover from the fact that I don't feel the writers and Chris Chibnall invested in this character whatsoever. I think she's just always the third wheel, just always sort of hanging out there, and nothing happens with her. And the longer this goes on, the greater the problem is. And let's just face facts. They have never known how to write women of color. Despite having two black companions, the people behind Doctor Who have just never known what to do with them. And there's no greater example of that than the treatment of Yaz. And the further it goes on, the angrier I get about it, actually. I want to see more from her. Just hopping in the TARDIS last week because, yeah, my family annoys me. That's it. No greater reason, no greater aspiration, nothing. Plain, simple. And I don't know what it's going to take for them to realize that they have great potential to tell stories with this character, because they're so fixated on Ryan and to a lesser extent Graham, that it's become plainly annoying. Okay, so um, there's also General Eve Cicero, who has pilot's heart, black woman, and she's taking adrenaline to hide her disability. The Doctor fangirls out over her, so we get to know right away that that she's an important character in this century. And Eve ends up dying trying to save the ship, even as Voss is giving birth to his son. And her skeptical brother makes peace with her and takes over, and everyone gets to safety. The Bating is fed a huge blast of energy and is floated out into space, happy and sated. Bing, boom, bam. The end. It is as cookie cutter as an episode of Doctor Who could possibly get. A leads to B leads to C. No great revelations. All it was meant to do is tell you, this is a familiar plot device. It's this Doctor's turn to have it. No great revelation. Nothing. It's about as mediocre and meh as an episode of Doctor Who can get. Did I like looking at the Pating? Yeah, it was cute, even if it wasn't fluffy. See, I didn't try my voice there. Did you catch that? I just dropped that altogether. But I feel like if they want people to invest, they have to also offer us something new. They can't just give us an old standard and say, okay, well, here's our twist on an old standard, ship under siege. They have to give us something new, something that is uniquely Jodie's Doctor, which I don't feel that they have done yet. I keep waiting for it to happen, and if I don't think that replaying greatest hits with a female Doctor is any kind of progress. They need to start taking risks with her Doctor. They need to start doing it immediately.